From what I've been told, Minginui started back in the mid-1950s and that as a timber mill town. Primarily they were only cutting native for many years till such a time as the devolution of forestry and the shutting down of those mills because they stopped the cutting of native timber and things just went backwards from there. Those of our people bought houses here and remained here but with no income to help sustain and look after their homes was just kind of subsistent living. Off the top of my head, probably 2/3 of Whirinaki was cut down during the forestry days, and that was just slash and burn. But slowly but surely we are starting to move forward and bring Whirinaki back to its former glory. There's been a bit of a turnaround now because of our settlement. Initially we looked at what sort of employment platform we could create here in Minginui, and the one thing that kept coming to mind was a nursery. Given the settlement Ngāti Whare were involved with on the Kaingaroa, we thought possibly there was an opportunity there to grow pine seedlings to help replant as they fell the pine trees. But as time went on, we were approached by Scion around maybe looking at a native nursery, which we did, and got involved with Scion around some technology they had developed to grow native trees from cuttings as opposed to just from seed, which we went into, and through some of our settlement money established the nursery we now have, growing only native trees. Those trees within the settlement, we got 640 hectares back to regenerate back into native as the pines were cut, because Kaingaroa Timberlands owned the pine trees, and as the trees were cut the land was returned and we're replanting that back into native to join on to Whirinaki. It's given employment for our people who are involved in that and the understanding of what trees there are and what seeds belong to what tree, and then they propagate those seeds and then on plant them into bigger containers that are then sold, and a lot of those trees are used to regenerate the land here in Whirinaki. Our people are getting a better understanding and appreciation from what I can see of what we already have here in terms of Whirinaki itself, understanding the importance of looking after Whirinaki, along with other people like Doc as well, and because we as Ngāti Whare support Doc in terms of what they apply to the whenua to get rid of all the pests and everything else that's endangering the ngahere, because at the end of the day Papa Tuanuku and ngahere look after us, and Ngāti Whare as kaitiaki o Whirinaki take that very serious. But I think we as Ngāti Whare support that, because if you come into Whirinaki and you see how Whirinaki is coming back, you'll get an understanding of why, with what's happening with global warming and Ngāti Whare, contributing to our carbon footprint. What we're involved in, growing natives and on selling those, has helped to mitigate our carbon footprint. So instead of being a community that was basically forgotten about, we've, in my view, become a community of influence because of that mitigating carbon footprint. The piko and other kai, those are still there and are still being harvested by Ngāti Whare when those seasons come on. We have an aspiration with Doc that over time, if we have special occasions at the pā, there's an opportunity there to feed our manuhiri kereru. And slowly but surely you can see that happening, because it's noticeable the kereru population is building. When the conservationists stopped the Forest Service cutting the native trees down and then repurposed one of the mills to take on pine, which is what happened, that lasted probably 4 or 5 years. But the irony about that is a lot of our people work for the Forest Service that cut down those native trees, and now their children and mokopuna are involved in collecting seed from whirinaki and propagating that seed and replanting the trees that their koros and kaua cut down. Because of what's happening now and growing the native trees and seeds that are sourced from whirinaki te puātāne, if we look after whirinaki te puātāne, whirinaki te puātāne will look after us. Ko te wata te mauna ko whirinaki te awa, ko whare pākau te tanata ko Ngāti Whare te iwi.